I'm sure that I'm not the only person who grew up in the school of hard knocks, as we might describe it. But you know, children are amazingly resilient. And what helps them to develop resilience is having safe environments in which they can flourish, and also encouragement to be able to find ways that are creative to cope with the traumas that they're experiencing. And as I've explained before, for me, Sunday school was my happy place, my safe environment where I could blossom. Now, the superintendent of our Sunday school was Mr Lumley, and he came over as a young man during the Second World War from Canada, and he'd married the daughter of the pastor. And I loved to hear his Canadian accent as he opened up the Bible stories to us using flannel-graph before the days of overheads and PowerPoints. And he could explain so clearly that every child, whatever their age, could understand. Now, during the summer months, Mr Lumley and his team would put on extra meetings during the week, during the evenings. And I remember these particularly for every year we had an annual treasure hunt, and the teachers would wrap sixpence, the old silver sixpence coins, in white paper, and then they would hide them in cracks in the walls of the houses in our neighbourhood and other places for us to find. And also what I loved was all the singing that we did. And you know, the teacher who led us in the singing, he had a habit of doing this, pretending he couldn't hear us, which encouraged us to sing out louder and louder. Now, at some point, the church introduced a morning Sunday school, which went on at the same time as the church service. And we were allowed to go through and join the adults for the children's talk. And often there was a guest speaker who would bring a special story. And then there would be a children's hymn. And sometimes they would also ask us to turn around to sing to the adults. And I can still see the delight on their faces as we sang. And some of them even would tell us afterwards how they loved to hear us sing. So of course, that also encouraged me. When I was 9 or 10, I started to go to the evening service because it was often a special service with guest speakers and singers. And me and my friend, we always sat next to a man with white hair who used to feed us polo mints during the service. And I often sat behind a lady who couldn't see very well. And I remember that she had a big magnifying glass, a long one, that she would move down the page so she could read the hymns. And then I remember one day she turned to me and she said, "I'm so glad that you stand behind me because you sing so clearly that I can hear every word you sing." Now, that was a special encouragement to me because on my school reports, often the complaint from my class teachers was that I was too quiet. And in fact, my very first teacher, for some reason, didn't even know my name because she said I didn't say it clearly enough for her to be able to hear what my name was. And it was in this church that I first encountered people of colour, and particularly people from the West Indies. Before I had seen them playing their very entertaining style of cricket on TV. Now, the pastor would arrange for singing groups to come down from London. And I remember there was one group who were called the Gospel Tones, who were 4 or 5 men originally from Barbados, who would sing these songs so beautifully, all the harmonies, a cappella style. And then there was a younger man from the Bahamas who had the beautiful tenor voice. And wow, you should hear him when he sang How Great Thou Art. He really soared on those high notes. Well, I guess it's not surprising that God loves to hear his children singing, because you know, God himself is a singer. In Zephaniah 3:17, we read these words, "The Lord your God is with you. He is mighty to save. He will take great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love, and he will rejoice over you with singing." That's from the 1984 edition of the New International Version. Well, this is Junior, and I will tell you more of my story again next week. Same time, same place.